Don, I'm not sure if you've ever got to meet this particular one or not. He's still around, and his name is Don Graves. And Don Graves is not, of course, not nearly as famous as Woody Williams. But the interesting thing about Don is that Don actually was an assigned flamethrower operator on Iwo Jima and is the last one alive. So even though Woody becomes famous because of a flamethrower, he wasn't a trained operator, he was a rifleman. Don actually was a flamethrower operator. So, really, of course, he's got some interesting stories. And there is a picture of him, a very famous picture of him in several books on Iwo Jima, but he is not captioned. It came out years after the war that he recognized himself, but a lot of stuff is that's not captioned as him. What makes Don Graves' story so great is not necessarily what he did on Iwo Jima, but how he dealt with it coming home. It's really a great story of him finding God, finding himself, several broken marriages, a whole lot of alcohol later, and he finds himself basically becoming a preacher for I forget how many decades. Just really devoted himself to God because he said when he was on Ewo and he's hunkered down against the black sand, he was so scared he said he never prayed like that before, but he said I prayed to God that if you let me live through this, I will serve you the rest of my life. And he said he grew up again, Depression era, very poor. He said we didn't go to church much because we couldn't afford clothes or shoes to go to church. He said we didn't have Sunday best. So he just kind of didn't go and he didn't really have a use for God until that day on Iwo Jima. And then when he comes home, he totally forgets about this deal that he made with God for quite a few years. I want to say it was well into the 1950s when his life was really just down in the dumps, spiraling out of control, had nothing left, and got to the end of the bottle before he finally started turning his life around. Now, when you meet him in at different events and or in the hospitality suite of the hotel, you'd never know that this guy went through some of the most horrific combat in the Pacific in World War II.
This has been a Digital 410 production.